so much for joining us today.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you aboard for our fundamentals for the fall, and us communicating in the last couple of years, getting a chance to know you so much better, and just have a whole new level of respect for your process and your journey of in the vector career and family life and all that. I just want to get to know you a little bit here as we begin, and jump in after a few minutes to your fundamentals for the fall for our group. So tell us a little bit about Kyle Preman. What's your background?
My background personally, I've been married for 11 years to my amazing and beautiful wife, Jess. 2 kids now. Harrison is 7 in 2nd grade. Gabrielle 4.5. They're awesome and the most rewarding challenge of my life. So having a ton of fun, being a dad and and a husband, and building a business I can't wait to get to, and a life I can't wait to get home to. And that's what Vector's all about. So that's been a cool journey. Vector related, I started with the company in 1999 on my summer break from Tufts University, my first summer started in mid-July. Did 14 grand on my fast start. I started with Mara Fosto, now Mara Burkhoff,
Oh, okay.
I became a branch manager. I was branched twice, while I was in college, and then I became a district in Manchester, New Hampshire in 2004. We did about 350 my first summer, and top 5 in the nation as a new DM. I had like a 60K new business fall, my first fall. And then, I was a district in New Hampshire for 10 years. I was almost in the Hall of Fame in 2015, and I got promoted. I was at 9.89 million in sales, and then Earl promoted me in 2015, so I had to do another $10 million.
Really?
To get into the Hall of Fame this last year, which was cool. So
you just got inducted this last year, right?
Last year, yeah. So
dude, congrats. That'd been cool to get it in both categories. One as a DM, and then
that would have been, but I literally hit it in May, when I got promoted. But moved down to Connecticut. Built the division with Justin Ludwig and Aaron Winter. And, we started at about 2 million in 2015. We'll do about 4.5-ish this year. Pilot having our best year ever. This year we're at 1.82 million, making a run at 2, and got some strong development classes and things like that, which it was exciting. We got 44 in TLA in the pilot right now, and then about a little over 100 total for the division. Looking forward here in 2020. So
just on it looks like a very consistent and sustained growth. Which is fantastic. I love the year-by-year increase. It's just really great, man. Thanks. So proud of your success in the developing of your personal growth, right? And then your division, 44 in the pilot office alone in TLA. I mean, that's got to jack you up. 100 in the entire division, but the 1.82 right now, and a couple of months left to the year. It's great. How many times have you hit President's Banquet?
5. Including this year, 5. We already hit it.
Yeah, because you just hit as well. Hot off the printing press, little Eli Whitney. Wait, that was the cotton gin. Never mind. Hot off of the printing press. That was a joke, but you didn't. For Vector East stats, Mr. Preman is at 140 and 719, 140,000. You're number 3 in Vector East, and out of all DVMs, you are currently number 4. Number 3 in Vector total, number 2 in Vector. I rephrase that. Let's rewind it. Number 3 in Vector East, and number 4 overall. Wow, that was. I don't think I can go back and edit that over again. We might have lost a couple of customers there. Either way, I'm trying to say congratulations.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Been good so far.
One of the things that you've always been good at, and I wanted to just ask you about this before we start, actually as we're starting, because this is where we're going. Your financial game, like you've given multiple financial messages, and it just seems like you are well-rounded in that aspect. I mean, we were talking in chit chat. You say it so casually. It's like, yeah, I became a millionaire as a DM, and my mind tried to comprehend that you became a millionaire while being a district manager. Can you take 60 seconds and just and just touch on that experience? Maybe not like how you got there, but just touch on what it's like to do that as a district.
Sure. I just remember hearing one of those like financial messages. It was actually John Wasserman at a conference, and I remember he said like, 1% of you are going to do all the things that I'm telling you to do right now. Those of you that do, you're going to be millionaires and blah blah blah. And I was like, that's going to be me, and like it actually was. So I just followed all the things he talked about, which are standard stuff that like we talk about a lot in Vector, but it's just the discipline of continuously doing it. Things like paying yourself first, and taking advantage of that Smith Barney program that Vector has, where there's like no fees and whatnot to invest in American funds, and you take your like 2% of it that comes right off the top that you don't miss ever. And you just kind of adjust your life accordingly, because it's something that comes out, automatically. You don't really have to think much about it, where you're basically paying your future self and rewarding your future self. And
Gotcha.
The other concept was like living below your means, which to me meant like kind of limiting, your fixed expenses as much as you can, and both in the personal and professional side, and limiting variable expenses as much as possible as well. Like, I just really, as a young district, as I was building, I was just very diligent about, do I need this? Like, like anything that wasn't a need for like, my ability to sustain my life, as a person, or to directly link to growing my business, I just didn't spend money on. So
Interesting.
I was very cheap, with a lot of stuff, especially early on. So
Can you go into specific about like what a fixed expense example would be, not necessarily all of them, and then what a variable expense would be? Can you go into specific detail about that, or an example?
Yeah, my fixed expenses were like my rent, for my office space, and things like that. I just always negotiated, down, and I was very active in finding the right spaces for the right prices. So a lot of that money that I saved on my office rent, I could then put towards like investing. So like, having $1,000 a month rent as opposed to $1,500 a month rent, and having a similar space, or a little smaller space and then, renting like a hotel room for like, the 5 or 6 training seminars that like, were big every year that I need, the extra room.
Yeah.
Made more financial sense than like spending the extra $500 a month, like every month for
Right.
to the end of time. So,
what about your variable? So fixed would be just your expenses that are going to be each and every month. Rent being a major one of those. Now let's say
and I think the apartment rent was actually the biggest one for me, because I was living by myself. I didn't have like, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, when I went out as a district, she was in grad school. So, I mean, she was, an hour and a half away. So I was just like by myself. I was like, I need a mattress, and like, that's it. Cause I'm pretty much like, as I'm building my business, I'm gonna like basically live in my office, like, until I get it to where I want it to be. Like, that's the focus. Like, 6 days a week, like I'm in, like in the morning, grinding, going after it. And, it took me like 2 years to like, get the development pool and get the assistant managers and staffing around me that I could like, do extra things like, outside. But like, I was just focused on, I'm gonna invest a couple years here to build what I want to build, the lifestyle I want to create, and then as a result, I was able to limit a lot of that financial expenditures outside of the business, because I didn't care. I'm just like, I don't care what my apartment looks like. I'm like, what's the cheapest place I could possibly live that I'm not going to get like stabbed at night? Like, it was pretty much
right. Minus stabbing.
So minus carjacking and all that stuff. Other than that, like, I was like, where can I live? My apartment rent was like, $500 a month or something like that.
Sure.
One room. Like, that's it.
And we get that that's not going to be like that in every area of the country. However, I think the point to take away from this is, are you shopping? Are you negotiating? And do you have multiple, or have you just went to the first place that was rented as is, and the landlord told you this is what it is, and there's no one else around here that's going to rent out to you, and then you took it? Like, stay curious, ask a lot of questions. It's up to you. And if you're going to invest your money, ask for help, ask for people, insight around you. I'm not saying go home and sleep on an air mattress on the ground, and
Yeah.
shed. But at the exact same time, you don't need the balcony with the 3-story, mansion overlooking the lake. Right now, at least, right? If you're struggling in the beginning of it, let's just get one thing done at a time. And I love your smartness of the money. A couple things you said, like, do I need this? And 9 times out of 10, we don't. I'd love it, I would like it, but I don't need it. And I think we can harness even half the time of saying that, right? Like this week,
Yeah.
if everyone who listened to this just asked themselves, do I need this before doing it, and said no to half the times, even if it's an extra $50 in your pocket by the end of the week, which by the way isn't a lot. It's three or four times at the store, right? It's 1 time to the bar. Imagine what that would do at the end of the month. Imagine by the end of the 6 months, the end of the campaign. And yeah, it's just, I like your aspect of that.
Yeah, and the variable expense stuff. I mean, that was just like going out and take dinners and things like that. Like paying for things that I didn't need to pay for, like all the things that we consider like luxuries. I wasn't really interested in that stuff at that point in my life. When I'm like 22, 23 years old, like if I wanted to do something fun or something awesome, like I just saved up for that and just bought it rather than like, I'll throw it on a credit card and I'll pay for it later. And, that stuff, I was just like, nope. Like if I didn't have the cash in my bank account to pay for something that was cool, more importantly, like extra cash, like, beyond what I needed to support.
For sure. Yeah.
If I didn't have that extra money, I was just like, there's no chance. And more likely than not, I would instead of doing that thing that was like, oh, that would be cool. Like I just took that, whatever that money would be, it'd be cooler investing this and having it grow into like, $20,000 by the time I'm 5, so I'd rather do that than, now. So at this point now, because I made those decisions when I was younger, the cool stuff that I now get to do became a lot cooler. Like I'm taking my son to his first Patriots game, this weekend. And, my wife was like,
where are you Browns action?
Where are you getting the seats? Yeah. And I was like, good ones. Like I'm not sitting in the nosebleeds. Like
getting cursed at.
It's going to be an awesome experience for him. And like, why? Because I'd rather spend that money on him.
Yeah.
38 than like spend it on, me going to like a club or something like that when I was like 21. So
it's tough though, Kyle, because like as a 21, 22, 23-year-old, that's what they might want to do.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm picking up from you, the number one word that pops out to me in this message as far as discipline, and as I went and did some research on businesses way back, like what's the number one reason that businesses fail? And who knows, there could be a different website for a different feeling per business. But one of the ones that kept up reoccurring was cash, but it wasn't the amount of cash coming in, it was allocation of what they do with their money. Because dude, in the vector business, with the way that it's run today, money comes in your door. And so it's not a matter of income coming in, it's allocation of what you do with that. But so it might be deep for a 22-year-old right now sitting in their office, maybe not even dating anybody, to go, do I want to go out tonight and blow off some steam and eat chicken wings and or go to the club, or do I want to take my future son or daughter to a football game 15 years from now? And it may not be that crazy of an idea or a thought to think that, because will you remember the chicken wings, the beer, or the shopping and whatnot 15 years from now? Maybe not, but you're going to know when you look in your bank account and you see zeros upon zeros upon zeros with numbers in front of that, and saying, hey, like, I think just the word discipline really, really stands out, that the decisions that you make today will affect your future self, let alone your family and son, daughter, or whatever. So I think that's some great content thus far, which is super relevant to our business, because without finances and allocation of them, it's going to be hard to drive your car without the gasoline in it.
True.
Thanks, dude. That's really good, man.
Of course.
So besides finances, which we could talk about for more, maybe we come back and do finances part 2, where we get a little bit more, basic on it. But I think we've got a good start now. Start talking about it. When you were brand new as a DM, let's go back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, what do you wish you would have known a little bit more of? Where do you feel that your biggest transformation has came from, or some of the transformations?
I think that one of my biggest challenges, I didn't really understand the process of growing a district. Like, I think I wanted everything to happen so quickly, and I was like, I want it now. And there were points where I didn't have as long-term time horizon of what my what my energy was going to, or what I was focused on. So it was like, I was in the fall and I was like, oh man, there's all these people that went back to school, and like my office isn't like, right where I want it to be right now. And I lost track of like, all right, well, I have to continue to do the right actions and activities each day while I'm in my organization, so that like I'm growing my own skill sets and I'm becoming a better leader for the people that I'm responsible for leading. And then I'm kind of shepherding and the people that are away at school to like, get them back over the winter break, and continuously moving my business forward. I was just very focused on like, well, tomorrow I have 2 interviews and I have to run those. And then I got to get on campus. And I didn't connect the dots with like, all right, these day-to-day functions and activities that I'm doing are connected to a longer term time horizon of what I'm trying to build and create as an office.
Huh.
And, it basically became like a, kind of like a rat race kind of thing, where we're just like, let's keep doing the same thing over and over again, as opposed to like adding meaning or value to the day-to-day functions and activities that I needed to do. So when I got clear and I said, hey, like here's a 3-year vision, this is what we're building and creating, and I just continuously promoted that and talked about that and had that like sustained promotion of like, hey, this is what our team's all about. This is what we're going to grow into. This is what we're going to build. This is why you want to be here for the long term. It was amazing how people started to stick, and I started being able to have more of a runway to develop leaders within my organization. Started forming layers, and having like people that were FSMs and CSPs, and people that were training for branch and district, and like I became more of a district manager than an office manager. Mm-hmm. And there is a certain point where you focus as an office manager for a certain time, but like make sure that that's attached to something longer term in terms of your vision.
So can we say right there for a second? Because just to kind of digest that, I noticed a huge trend as you were speaking, doing the day-to-day tasks and then connecting the dots, that if I do those with purpose or with better, clear energy, with a longer-term vision, the office and the business is going to grow. I mean, think about that philosophy, though, with your saving of your money. Like, you back then weren't just saving money to save money. You're like, why would I go out and spend this amount of money day-to-day spending, when the bigger picture is I can be a millionaire, at the age of 30. And I love your connection of those things, of the small day-to-days. And there is power, from what I can see, of just doing the day-to-days, like just kind of getting some habits formulated to try to get some miles on the road. But you made the connection of, when I do these things, man, I can really build the future. It's not just let's do these things to get to Thursday. Let's do these things to get to Friday. Okay, it's Saturday. Here's what we do. What I'm picking up from you is that you put the connection that when I do these things and I do them at a high level, business, life, results skyrocket. Ooh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
I don't know if it froze or if you were looking,
it did freeze for a second, and I was like, you were like.
Man, I thought after 45 minutes, it's only been 18. And like, deposit more money before I go on. So it was like this.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So yes. Are we good?
Yeah, we're great.
I was paying homage, and
so
1 second.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like that discipline of executing the day-to-day tasks with meaning and purpose, I think, was a big thing that I was missing when I first started. And then as I grew, like the next like 2 to 3 years as a district, I started to kind of get that concept.
Yeah.
That sometimes I was running things for me, admittedly, there's times of the year, times of, that there's some people in front of me in an interview that I'm like, like, this is not my A team right here. But I wanted to be ready for when my A team showed up. So if I was like, forming bad habits, or, cutting corners, or not doing the right things daily, with the B team, I wasn't going to be prepared or ready to be on my game at the highest level when the A team was in front of me.
Yeah.
And that was something that motivated me all the time, was like, I want to be ready, because you never know when that guy is going to come into your office, or that girl's going to come into your office for an interview, or you never know which training seminar is going to be the training seminar where you launch that kid that like changes the entire landscape of your organization. So you got to be on for all of it. And obligation we have as managers and leaders to make sure that like we're providing the best service we possibly can for other people. It shouldn't be based on a feeling or emotion or a circumstance. It should be based on the choice and the decision you make from the moment that you open up your district office, that like these people deserve my absolute best. Like Hurlman said at SLC, it's a privilege that we have to recruit people and bring them into our business, and treat it like that. Treat it as a privilege. To me, that's what that means. It's like every function that I'm doing, I'm giving my A game for, because that's just how we roll. Like that's just how I do it. Like if I'm not bringing my best to everything consistently, how do I ever improve? Because I'm never putting my best effort forth. Like you can't grow past your best if you're never giving your best. So that's something we talk about in the division all the time. You always bring your best, everything you do, so next time you need it, your best gets better.
Yeah. It's amazing how many people that I've spoken with on this, and it's like, I really never tried that hard. Life was in a way kind of easy for me, and not everyone can relate to that, but it's amazing that when you get into this opportunity, how much it does challenge you, because when push comes to shove, and it will, you are there, you are the manager of this office, and in years in the future, when doing it properly, you're a manager of a district. You have other people going out that are looking to you to say, hey, what am I supposed to do here? And it's really got to be tough if it's, I don't know, I'm just kind of finding my way through too. It's like having children prematurely, but not really wanting the responsibility of taking care of them. It's kind of like, well, figure it out, YouTube it. It's like, Dad, what are you talking about? It's cool to see your. I love the time or the message from Hurlman of, you deserve, like, people deserve your best. I was at a CSP retreat in Oregon beginning of the summertime, and Eric Gilman, who's a very successful CGC out in California and San Diego, he said it in a way where, for us, we might look at it as an obligation. Oh, we got to get up today. Oh man, we got to go out and do this. But his message was the gist of, it's our responsibility for those who aren't able to do that. Like, so for those who physically can't do what we're able to do, we might look at it as an obligation. It's actually our responsibility to help bring that world bigger, stronger, better to the future. And man, that really resonated with me, and I want to give props to Eric for saying that. Just like Hurlman, and just like you're saying, hey, people deserve our best, and this isn't obligatory. This is a responsibility that we have as being a leader in a future, in the future. So that's great, man.
For sure.
Let's jump into our last few minutes here. Just, hey, what are some things that you're doing great at right now, and what are some things that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think TLA is something that we've had a really large strength with over the last few years, and like utilizing the TLA program to like kind of grow all of the other programs, whether it's like the show team, CSPs, branch, district, like whatever. The philosophy there is like, I just want to make sure I'm teaching people to be leaders. I don't care what they lead in. I'm not married to like one position's better than another position or whatever. One position just might be better for them. So we'll figure that out through the process. So I'm going to teach you how to be a leader, but I want leaders as assistant managers, leaders as branch managers, leaders as district managers, leaders as like, sales representatives, show team, CSP, CG, whatever, like, let's just make sure you know how to lead and you're crushing life. And that's what Leadership Academy is about. So like, no matter who that person is or what they're excited about, they're like, that sounds cool. Like, I want to be part of that. So I think having like kind of a leadership slant and an orientation, which I know a lot of people are doing, is valuable. And then like through the process, kind of guiding people to what roles might be the best for them, and where they have the most opportunity for growth. The other thing that we've been really focused on is having our 0 to 30K program. And I think it was like years ago that I talked to, I might have still been a district, talking to Wes Frank, and, Wes, one of the best developers of CSPs and, best managers and office managers in the company. And I was like, what's one of the biggest keys that you see to developing high level sales representatives? And he said, like, just get very clear in your organization how you get a representative from $0 in sales to $30,000 in sales. Be as detailed as you possibly can. What's the program? Like, you should be able to explain that top to bottom to anybody. Like, your division manager asks you, all right, walk me through how you're going to get somebody from 0 to 30K in your organization. When do you teach like leads? When do you teach heads up approach? When do you teach them the acquaintance approach? Teach them how to call recs, right? What's the fast start look like for that person? What are the conversations? Like, what if this happens? What if that happens, right? Like, how detailed can you be through the process? And just the act of walking through that, causes you to actually think through some of your programs. So that's what it did for me. I was like, that's interesting. So I like sat down and typed it all up. Like, this is what I'm doing. It wasn't something I did like, all right, forget the business, I'm just going to sit. It was like one of those projects that I worked on throughout one of the fall campaigns. And it was like, I put in an hour here, and I was like, all right, starting point, like fast start. All right, what do they do there? All right, after they transition out of their fast. So like, I broke it up and like put an hour in here, an hour in there, an hour in here, an hour in there, and came up with like kind of a program and a system that now is a divisional program for us, which is, partially why we have some really heavily productive representatives. The pilot, we had about a $4,500 PPR last year. My mission is to get it to $10,000, by the way. So like, I'm not going to be satisfied until our like average productivity is 10 grand. So I'm going to keep tinkering with this and working on it and driving it as we grow and develop our division. But I just, that's something that would fire me up. So that's why I'm working towards it. But
yeah. $4,500 PPR.
Mm-hmm.
So dude, intriguing. And I remember having conversations of this with people in the past, like, well, how do you get through, how do you get people to the interview, right? And then there's a process. Well, it's names, it's calling, it's having interview times, like all that, as simple as it is. And then when you're brand new, you're trying to figure out all those ingredients. And then after a week, a month, or a year, or whatever, you're just like, oh, we'll just set people for an interview. If you can do it for that, imagine doing it for, well, how to get people to show to training. What are the processes that you need to do? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you get them to launch from training? And I don't know if I'm using the proper terms, how to get them, but you understand my point, the flow.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what does it look like to have a rep set up their first 10 appointments? Okay, what does it look like for a rep to get to their first promotion? And dude, if they did that and they compartmentalized how to set up for interviews, how to show to training, how to launch, how to sell, how to get to their fast start, couldn't they just do the same thing of how to get to 1K, how to get to 3K, how to get to 10K, how to get to 20K, et cetera?
Mm-hmm.
And like,
Yep.
So not looking at it from a whole of how to get somebody from 0 to 30, they're like, I haven't even sold $30,000. But like, how can you get somebody to go to an interview and then move the needle so you're literally adding on 1 or 2. I think that's ingenious because now they can compartmentalize. Well, like, where do I have a rep at? Rep's at 6K. Okay, what's the next milestone? 10K. Well, if you got them to 6, you can get them to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know that, reach out, ask some questions. What are some, because that wall of 6K sometimes is hard, right? The rep is lost that fluster. They're kind of like, oh, I know this job. I've already sold $6,000. Like,
right.
A full $6,000? Yeah, great.
Yep. We should get Hall of Fame right now. So they're like the preseason Hall of Famers in football.
Yeah, right?
You're amazing.
I think the content, dude, it's anywhere from your financial aspect of it. And by the way, I want to put a disclaimer out there for Wes Frank's last 3, maybe 4 years of financial talks on SLC Vector Connect.
Yeah.
Listening to those. And I believe you even gave a financial message years ago.
Yeah, like 5 years.
5 years ago, and just looking up and getting curious about money, because you could be the most technically sound person in the business and know how to recruit and know how to train. But when you look at your account and you don't see enough money that can help you survive for the next month or 2, it's disheartening. But I got to tell you, man, when there's money in your account and you're starting to get the techniques along the way and you're in that flow zone, like, Earl Kelly calls it the C zone, just your abundant thinking is just so divergent. It's amazing where it's like everything's just flowing to you. So,
yeah, I was never a top district. So my years, it was like, I'm selling 3 to 500K new, and as a DM, we're kind of like the large majority of my years, like somewhere between the 250K and 500K business.
So you're not doing $1 million in new business every year and become a million from that.
I actually never did $1 million as a district. I think I would have the year I got promoted, but
yeah.
But
for 10 years, you're doing about $300,000 to $500,000 in new business and became
new business, and it was probably something like my worst year was 198,000. Was my second year, which was terrible.
Yeah.
I went backwards my sophomore year, which was one of the more challenging moments of my career. But and then we grew every year since then, and then so something like between $200,000 total for the year to my biggest year as a district was like 930.
Okay.
My last year.
It's I think I've called you dude like 30 times, but so Kyle, sir. So the amount of money that you sold in a district, that's intriguing because you're not out there always selling $1 million a year. It's easy to invest that amount of money. Because of the amount of money that you were making through sales, that wasn't the number one factor as to why you became financially successful. It was your discipline on where you spend and how you spent your money in the back end.
Yep, absolutely.
So you weren't eating filet mignon and caviar in your office and on the way home?
Nope. More like my first 3 years were like ramen noodles, pasta, and on Saturdays I would treat myself to an actual sub at Subway. I was like, oh, this is good.
Sub, yeah. I love that the treat on Saturday was a sub.
Yeah, it's great.
My first year as a district, I would be pretzels, turkey, ham, fat-free, and the $1 loaf of bread with mustard. And I brought that to the office every single day.
Yeah, dude.
On a Saturday.
Lunch pail. Let's go.
On Saturday after training, I would go back to Tops, which is our grocery store there, and I would buy a rotisserie chicken.
Oh, dude.
$4.99. And when I sat on my front porch, I would eat the carcass.
Good old days.
It's just the good old days. It's just like I remember, and those are the sometimes. I'm not saying that you have to do those things, but if you're not controlling how you spend your money and disciplined, you might have the steak dinner today. You go out and have caviar tonight, and it may not affect you this week. But if you continue to do that and not pay attention to the spending habits, it's eventually going to catch up to you. And do you want to have caviar today, or do you want to bring your future son or daughter to the sporting event for an exceptional experience in the future?
Oh yeah.
So cool, dude. I really appreciate your insight today, man. It's been great.
My pleasure.
I do want to end our convo here with a lightning round of fun questions. So,
all right, let's do it.
Are you ready?
I'm ready for the lightning round.
Lightning round of fun questions. Okay. You got 1 minute on the clock. And here we go. Okay. What is this?
Tennis ball.
Very good. When is your birthday?
July 22nd.
July 22nd. In golf, when you shoot 2 under par for a hole, what is that term called?
That is called an eagle or a hole-in-one.
Oh, okay. What is the molecular formula for water?
H2O.
And what does H2 mean?
2 hydrogen molecules.
What was your favorite class in high school? Subject?
Physics.
Wonder why you're a millionaire. Okay. In hockey, when a goal is scored on the goalie, but it goes between his or her legs, what is that term called?
Nutmeg?
It went through the what?
5-hole. 5-hole.
Hole.
All right.
Did you say nutmeg?
Nutmeg. I'm a soccer player, man. What do you want from me?
Same thing as soccer. If it goes to the 5-hole.
Yeah.
Credited for E equals MC squared.
Albert Einstein.
Very good. And that's the buzzer. Ran out of the buzzer. My last question I want to ask you, would you rather get $1 scratch off that is pre-scratched off that you've won $1, or would you rather get a blank scratch off and you don't know if you've won or not?
I would rather, for $1, I'd rather get a blank one.
Here it is. It's all you got to do is turn this in to get $1, or you get one that you have to scratch off still.
I'd rather have the one I can scratch off still for $1.
How much would it be worth it to you to receive an already pre-won scratch off to not have to go get a blank one? $5, $10?
It would be worth $1.
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure to chat with you for the day. The financial part, I'm really just attracted to, and maybe in the future, if we continue the fundamentals to the fall, maybe we continue. You're the finance guy, and we bring fundamentals to finance, and we have a 30-minute call just on finances, and that might be our segments for the springtime.
Sure.
People's expertise, because I think that's just so valuable and so simple. And if people start doing that now, we may not be millionaires in the future, but you're going to be definitely financially sound and make some smart decisions.
Yeah, dude. I would love that. So I'm an open book. So anything you need.
I appreciate. Let me see it. There you go. No, and put the thumb out.
Uh,
Love you.